The sun was sinking behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the valley, and the air carried that subtle smell of earth and hay that made the ranch feel alive even in silence. Emma stood alone in the barn, hands gripping the edge of a wooden stall, her mind spinning with everything that had been building over the past weeks. The farm had been a constant struggle since her father passed. Repairs, debts, and a relentless weight of responsibility that no one else would carry. She prided herself on strength, on being the kind of woman who could handle anything. But tonight, exhaustion had carved deep lines of doubt into her chest. She closed her eyes and let out a shaky breath, trying to steady herself, but the frustration only intensified. From outside, the sound of hooves on dirt announced Cole's approach. The rancher had always been a figure of quiet strength, a man whose presence seemed to calm storms both literal and metaphorical. Emma had known him for years, their paths crossing often as he helped with livestock or gave advice on tricky repairs. But tonight, as she heard him step into the barn, the air shifted. There was an unspoken tension, an electricity she hadn't allowed herself to feel before. She straightened, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and met his gaze. "Emma," he said softly, his deep voice cutting through the barn's ambient silence. He didn't rush, didn't speak louder than necessary, but his eyes held an intensity that made her heart flutter unexpectedly. "You okay?" She shook her head, words lodged in her throat. I don't know," she admitted finally, her voice trembling with vulnerability she rarely allowed anyone to see. "I've been trying to do everything myself, and I'm tired, Cole. So tired. I can't keep this up alone." Cole's brow furrowed slightly, and he came closer, though he didn't touch her yet. He simply observed her, waiting, giving her the space to release all the emotion she had been bottling up. He had always known Emma as a capable, determined woman, the kind who rarely asked for help. But in this moment, seeing her like this, he realized how much pressure she had carried silently. "I know," he said finally, his voice low and steady. "I've seen you pushing yourself. I've watched you face storms, fix fences in the heat of summer, care for every animal as if it were your own child. You've carried too much for too long." His words were calm but laden with empathy, and for a fleeting moment, Emma allowed herself to imagine leaning on someone else without fear of judgment. I can't take it anymore," she whispered, almost to herself, almost a confession. "I need someone to be here with me, to help me to share this burden." Her words faltered, but her gaze held him captive, an unspoken plea shining in her eyes. Cole stepped a little closer, the warmth of his body brushing against hers in subtle, unintentional comfort. And then it happened. The frustration, the longing, the desperate need for relief all coalesced into one bold, trembling statement. "I can't take it, just do it deeper." Her words were almost a challenge, almost a surrender. Cole froze for a fraction of a second, a flicker of surprise passing across his features. But he didn't retreat. He didn't mock or question her. He simply listened, absorbing the weight behind her plea, the unspoken emotions that accompanied it. He moved closer, his presence commanding yet gentle, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. There was more than desire in the air. There was trust, the kind that formed slowly over years of shared work, shared challenges, and shared silence. She had always respected him, admired his quiet strength, but now she realized there was an intensity beneath that calm exterior that she had never truly seen. Cole's hands rested lightly on her arms, not pressing, not demanding, simply anchoring her. "We'll get through this," he said quietly. "Together. You're not alone anymore." Those words hit her like a revelation, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of relief. The burden she had carried for so long didn't vanish, but suddenly it felt lighter because someone else was willing to share it. As the barn grew darker, shadows stretching along the walls, their connection deepened. Every brush of their hands, every shared glance, every subtle movement carried unspoken meaning. Emma realized that what she had felt for Cole over the years, respect, admiration, quiet affection, was evolving into something far more powerful, far more consuming. And he, in turn, was responding, not with haste, but with measured understanding, matching his actions to her reactions, ensuring she felt safe even in her vulnerability. Time seemed to stretch, the night enveloping them in a private cocoon. It wasn't just a physical closeness that mattered. It was the emotional intimacy, the acknowledgement of fears and insecurities, the silent promises exchanged through eye contact and small gestures. Emma allowed herself to breathe, to surrender just enough to let him in without losing herself. In that delicate balance, she found strength she hadn't known existed. The strength of letting someone else support her, of trusting another human being with her most fragile moments. By the time the moon rose high above the mountains, casting a silvery glow through the barn's open doors, they were both breathless, not only from the intensity of the moment, but from profound realization of what it meant to truly connect with another person. Words were unnecessary. The bond had been forged through touch, through patience, through mutual understanding and empathy. Finally, Emma sank onto a pile of hay, exhausted yet exhilarated, her heart still racing with adrenaline and relief. Cole knelt beside her, not hovering, not overbearing, but present, letting her recover in her own time. The night had been transformative, more than either could have anticipated. It had revealed vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and desires, and had allowed them to face both together for the first time. Even as the barn returned to quiet, the distant calls of animals and the whisper of wind through the open doors, they knew this night had changed them. Challenges lay ahead, the ranch's debts, looming storms, and the weight of a life spent alone. But in this shared intimacy, they had discovered a new foundation. Trust had been built in the unlikeliest of moments, proving that strength is not measured by how much one can carry alone, but by the courage to let someone else help shoulder the load. As they finally rested side by side in the hay, the stars shining above like silent witnesses, Emma realized she had learned an important truth. Letting go didn't mean giving up. It meant embracing the support of someone who truly understood, someone who could match her intensity and meet her vulnerability with unwavering care. Cole, steady, patient, and unexpectedly tender, had shown her that there is bravery in surrender, and that true connection transforms not just a heart, but the very way one faces life. In that quiet, moonlit barn, with the world outside continuing its relentless pace, Emma felt a warmth she hadn't known she needed. She had faced fear, fatigue, and isolation, and had emerged not broken, but stronger. Stronger because she had allowed trust and intimacy to guide her through the storm. And as Cole's steady presence reassured her, she knew one thing for certain. Together, they could face whatever came next because they had already faced the unthinkable and had come out alive, changed, and unbreakably connected. Morning arrived slowly over the valley, soft golden light spilling over the ranch like a promise. The smell of dew-soaked grass and hay filled the air, mingling with the distant scent of smoke from a neighbor's early fire. Emma woke to the gentle sound of movement, the rhythmic thump of hooves, and the low murmur of livestock in the barn. For a moment, she hesitated, recalling the intensity of last night, the connection she and Cole had shared, the vulnerability she had allowed herself to feel. But instead of fear or shame, there was a surprising sense of calm, of anticipation for the day ahead. Cole was already up, moving with a quiet efficiency she had come to admire. His hands were sure and precise as he tended to the animals, checking their feed, mending a fence with a practiced hand. Watching him, Emma felt a mixture of admiration and warmth, her heart softening at the sight of his steady diligence. The man who had once seemed untouchable, aloof, and stoic had become the anchor she had longed for without even realizing it. There was a new rhythm in their dynamic, a balance she hadn't anticipated. Last night had changed everything. Yet in the light of day, it didn't feel awkward or forced. It felt right. She joined him in the barn, carrying a pail of feed, her hands steady despite the lingering butterflies in her stomach. "Morning," she said softly, trying to sound casual, though her voice betrayed her nerves. Cole looked up, and for a fleeting moment, his eyes met hers, calm yet charged with an unspoken memory. He offered her a small, almost shy smile, one that made her chest ache with unexpected emotion. "Morning," he replied simply, his tone carrying that familiar, steady reassurance. The day quickly became a whirlwind of chores, each task a test of endurance and teamwork. They repaired a broken fence together, their hands brushing occasionally, sending subtle shivers down Emma's spine. Cole's presence was a grounding force. His quiet strength allowed her to focus. to work harder than she had in weeks without feeling overwhelmed. Every time their eyes met, there was a silent communication, a shared acknowledgement that the burden was no longer hers alone. By midday, sweat dripped down their foreheads, and Emma paused to wipe her brow, glancing at Cole. He had a dusting of hay in his hair, his sleeves rolled up to reveal strong, capable arms, and there was intensity in his expression that made her pulse quicken. "I couldn't do this without you," she admitted, her voice low but honest. Cole paused, looking at her with a mixture of pride and something softer, more vulnerable than she had ever seen before. "You'd be surprised how much I enjoy it," he said, a hint of amusement breaking through the serious undertone of the morning. She laughed, a sound full of relief and genuine joy, the tension of the previous weeks melting slightly in the warmth of their camaraderie. The afternoon brought more challenges. A sudden storm swept through the valley, sending winds whipping across the fields and forcing them to secure loose equipment. Rain pelted the barn roof, and the animals grew restless, adding urgency to their efforts. Yet, even amid the chaos, they moved as a team, their synergy palpable. Emma marveled at how natural it felt to rely on him, to trust that he would be there to handle whatever came next. And Cole, for his part, seemed invigorated by her presence, no longer simply a stoic observer of the farm, but an active participant in every struggle and triumph. As the storm eased, the air heavy with the scent of wet earth and fresh rain, they sat together on the porch, catching their breath. The valley stretched before them, lush and glistening under the fading light, and for a moment neither spoke. Emma rested her head lightly on her hands, studying Cole's profile, noticing the small details she had never allowed herself to see. The way his jaw tightened when he focused, the curve of his lips when he smiled, the steadiness in his gaze. She realized how deeply she had come to care, how much last night had shifted something inside her. "I never thought I'd find someone I could rely on like this," she confessed, her voice soft, almost tentative. Cole turned slightly, taking her hand in his fingers wrapping around hers in a firm yet gentle grip. "You've always been strong," he said, meeting her gaze. "But strength isn't about doing everything alone. It's about knowing when to let someone in. And you let me in." The words hung between them, a quiet acknowledgement of the trust and connection that had formed, unspoken but undeniable. Evening came, and the chores were done, leaving them with a rare moment of stillness. The sky turned shades of violet and gold, and the first stars began to appear, small pinpricks of light against the darkening canvas above. Emma leaned against Cole, her hand finding his, the warmth of his presence reassuring in a way that no words could convey. The farm had challenges, debts, repairs, and long-term uncertainty, but for the first time, she didn't feel alone in facing them. Together, they were a force stronger than some of their individual struggles. Over the following weeks, their partnership deepened, both in work and in life. Emma discovered that allowing herself to lean on someone else didn't diminish her independence. It enhanced it, giving her the confidence to take risks she might have avoided alone. Cole revealed parts of himself he had never shared, stories of past failures and hidden fears, trusting her with vulnerabilities he had carefully guarded. And Emma, in turn, shared her own worries, her own dreams, finding relief in the honesty that flowed between them. One afternoon, after a long day of repairing a fence line damaged by the storm, they paused to rest, sitting together under the shade of an old oak tree. Emma looked at Cole, heart swelling with gratitude and admiration. "I've learned something important," she said quietly. "I've learned that letting someone in doesn't make you weak. It makes you brave." Cole's hand squeezed hers gently, his eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and deep affection. "Exactly," he agreed. "And you've shown me that strength isn't just physical. It's emotional. You've taught me to open up, to share, and to care in ways I never thought possible." As summer gave way to early autumn, the ranch thrived, and so did their relationship. Emma's farm became more than just a livelihood. It became a shared dream, a place where love and labor intertwined seamlessly. Together, they faced new challenges, from unexpected livestock illness to local disputes, but every obstacle strengthened their bond rather than weakened it. They learned to communicate without words, anticipate each other's needs, and support one another through both setbacks and triumphs. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the valley was bathed in golden light, Emma looked at Cole with a smile that held all the warmth and joy of the past weeks. She whispered teasingly, echoing words from their first night of vulnerability. "I can't take it. Just do it deeper." Cole laughed, a sound full of affection and familiarity, and shook his head. "You've got a way of keeping me on my toes," he said, his voice full of fondness. The shared laughter, the teasing, the mutual respect and trust, they had built something enduring, something far beyond desire or attraction. By now, it was clear that the trials they had faced were not just physical challenges of farm life. They were emotional, testing patience, vulnerability, and courage. But Emma and Cole had discovered profound truth. Love and partnership are forged in the willingness to trust, to share burdens, and to be present in each other's lives fully. The barn where they first let down their walls had become a symbol of their growth, a reminder that strength is never solitary, and courage is often found in allowing someone else to stand beside you. Night fell over the ranch, quiet and comforting, the stars reflecting in Emma's eyes as she sat beside Cole on the porch. She rested her head against his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her ear. The valley, the farm, the challenges, all of it seemed smaller somehow, manageable, because they faced it together. And in that moment, she realized that the unthinkable act of letting someone in had not only changed her life, it had transformed it, giving her hope, resilience, and a love she had never imagined possible.